Got your barf bag handy? The Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast is on the air. A Medicare podcast that sometimes actually discusses Medicare. He wanted to be a cowboy but became a Medicare expert instead. Doug Jones.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast. This is your lazy podcaster, Doug Jones. I'm going to yak about Medicare until you're completely sick of it. When you are ready to throw in the towel, then that's the time that I'm going to release you from your attendance at the Medicare for the Lazy Man Podcast Institute. But in the meantime, I want you to be aware that your textbook is waiting for you at the bookstore, and that bookstore is either Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. If you go to either of those locations and purchase Medicare for the Lazy Man, well, you're going to have some choices. If you go to Amazon, you can get the standard softcover book. You can get the Kindle version, very reasonably priced. You can get the Audible version where somebody else does all the work for you of reading, pronouncing the unpronounceable multisyllabic words, turning the pages, all of that difficult work that reading a book is involved with. And then, of course, if you need a massive tome to anchor one row of books in your house, then you would want to get the hardcover version. It's a pricey one. It's $25. I can't do anything about that. Amazon is the one who sets the price on that. But the $25 hardcover book is your choice if you want durability and longevity from your Medicare instructional book. And what you do is you bring that book home and read it. Now, that's not going to take you very long because, frankly, the genius of Medicare for the Lazy Man 2025 is the fact that it boils down all that complex Medicare knowledge into an easily digested meal of tasty morsels. So you're going to be a Medicare expert, but you won't have to pay tuition and you won't have to spend hours and hours of your time to do that. At the end of your read, you're going to say, wow, all of this really makes a lot more sense than I ever expected it to. And that's where the value of Medicare for the Lazy Man 2025 comes in. So get your book. When you're ready for Medicare, contact me and I will, as a licensed agent everywhere, I will help you get the ancillary coverages that you're going to need to bolster and complete your health insurance protection. And you will then go off into the sunset fully protected and without a care in the world. That's my guarantee to you. Now, there are other people throwing guarantees around, one of whom is Randy Carson. He guarantees that you're going to have a good time during this podcast episode. What do you think, Randy? Can we actually deliver on that?
I absolutely plan to deliver on that. And the way I do that, sometimes, I'm not going to do it today because I'm not prepared. But sometimes I put Doug through the paces of questions that he has to answer as a quiz. I'm not going to do it today, but I'm going to do it sometime in the near future. So today we're just going to stay real close to the script and basically try to make some good money and convey some good knowledge to you folks. And I would also like to point out that it's 94 degrees out here. And that is just a perfect day in the middle of the summertime here in Arizona. I always squeak and complain if it's below 70 because that, in my world, is called Arizona freezing. But today is not the case. So what is it up at your house, Doug?
You're up in the
Nosebleed Mountains. So what's the temperature up there?
90 degrees.
Oh, my God. So 3 degrees difference.
So what is that? 12,000 feet elevation difference? It's 4 degrees difference. I thought you were 94.
Well, no, we're at 93.
Okay. So that's 1,000 feet difference in elevation typically. And as I look at the 14-day Arizona forecast, we're going to have a 1 triple digit day coming up in 4 days. And after that, it's going to be dropping like a rock. This has been so far very benign spring and heading into summer. It has not been miserable. A lot of people whine and complain about Arizona's weather, but this has been a perfect year.
Okay.
We had no winter, and now we're
We
having,
had no winter, which is always good. But the
yeah.
one thing I don't want to miss, because we are Arizona people, we're required as soon as you step across the state line
Hmm.
to say, but it's a dry heat.
And it's really true. I mean, it's not something that somebody made up to fool tourists into coming to Arizona and leaving their money behind. That is really true. It is a dry heat.
It's really dry when they keel over for lack of, being hydrated.
Yeah.
It's that dry, but we always take care of them. As soon as your relatives come out, you hand them a bottle of water and you just say, keep drinking.
Well, I use that old rule of thumb. I only drink, and I always drink when I'm thirsty. So when you
Yes,
get thirsty, when all your saliva is gone, don't ignore it. Have a drink.
right. Exactly. I
Mm.
totally agree with you. So
Okay.
we need to do some money
Yes.
making today.
Yes, this is we're going to cash in big time today because I'm going to talk about what am I going to talk about? I'm going to talk about Dr. Oz just a little bit. He's been appointed to head the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, and that is the big giant government department that oversees, among other things, Medicare, which is why we're all here. Now, Medicare is his bailiwick because Trump feels as though he will do a good job, much better than any of the people who have overseen the federal government prior to this. But one thing that concerns some of us, those of us who value individual freedom and who value Medicare supplement plans as preserving individual freedom and who dislike Medicare Advantage plans because they impose upon the freedoms that we all value, we're concerned about Dr. Oz because he made statements long ago that everybody should have Medicare Advantage coverage and that all Medicare coverage should become Medicare Advantage. And I disagree with that. Randy's getting whiplash, whipping his head back and forth, saying, nope, not me. I will not succumb to that. So we're concerned that Dr. Oz might be a bad choice for this governmental position. Now, in reality, he can't make a change like that without, I think, even Congress, but certainly other people have to be involved in enacting any decision he might make. So I think the odds are slim that this could happen, and especially if Dr. Oz is the only one with this opinion. And we read an article a couple of episodes ago about how Republicans are starting to wake up to the fact that Medicare Advantage is not the way to go for most people. So I am fairly confident that we're not going to be saddled with it. But back in March, when this article was written, we all wanted to know what Dr. Oz was thinking. So this headline is Dr. Oz vows to scrutinize Medicare Advantage as the head of CMS. Dr. Oz, Donald Trump's pick to lead the CMS, pledged to scrutinize Medicare Advantage insurance companies in an effort to rein in costs during a confirmation hearing. We're actually apparently paying more for Medicare. Duh, he finally got the word here. We're paying more for Medicare Advantage than we're paying for regular Medicare. So it's upside down, he said in front of the Senate Finance Committee. If confirmed, Oz, who is a physician and TV personality, would manage the federal agency that provides coverage to more than 160 million people through Medicare, Medicaid, the Children's Health Insurance Program, and the Affordable Care Act exchanges. Oz has previously advocated for expanding the Medicare Advantage program, and he has worked as a broker for the plans, according to the New York Times. Additionally, he owns stock, now this is as of last March, owns stock in United Health Group, the nation's largest Medicare Advantage insurer, though he has said he would divest his stake in some healthcare and pharmaceutical companies if confirmed as CMS administrator. Well, we know now that he has been confirmed, and so we want to make sure that he is not benefiting financially from the criminal activities of some of these Medicare Advantage plans. Medicare will spend $84 billion more on Medicare Advantage enrollees this year than it would if those people were in traditional Medicare, according to a report published by the Congressional Advisory MedPAC. One way to tackle higher costs in Medicare Advantage is through cutting down on upcoding. Upcoding, ladies and gentlemen, is a process where when a Medicare Advantage plan enrolls a new member, they send somebody out with a questionnaire and try to uncover reasons that they can either rely on or that they can make up to tell the federal government this person is sick and we need more money than you were originally going to pay for us to treat that person. And we found out they have diabetes. We need another $1,000 a month for that person. Well, they try to upcode on every one of their members, and that's how they manage to siphon even more money out of the US Treasury. Medicare Advantage plans are paid a fixed amount each month per member, adjusted for the enrollee's health risks. But beneficiaries in the privatized plans tend to rack up more diagnostic codes than those in traditional Medicare. During the hearing, Oz noted that plans sometimes conduct health assessments to find new diagnoses to add to their medical records, even if those conditions would not require any additional health care services. The nominee, that's Dr. Oz, also argued that CMS, the government agency, could cut down the amount of prior authorization requests where providers have to receive approval from the patient's insurance company before they perform a service. Claims denials by Medicare Advantage plans, including through the use of artificial intelligence tools, have become a big concern for lawmakers and regulators. Oz suggested that CMS, the government, could limit the number of procedures subject to prior authorization to 1,000 compared to about 5,500 procedures today. A part of this is just recognizing there's a new sheriff in town. He said, we actually have to go after places and areas where we're not managing the American people's money very well. All right, so he's, he was in his confirmation hearings when he was saying all that. Lip service is cheap. And I'm hoping that he wakes up and gets on the right side of things when his term, is during the course of his period of running the CMS, that part of the government that is overseeing everybody's insurance. Now, what do we do? Well, what we do is we go to the book of Medicare, your Medicare benefits. And I believe we have the 2025 version, even though last time I said 2024. I believe we're at 2025, and we're going to examine what Medicare might do if you need inpatient rehabilitation care. Now, Part A of Medicare covers medically necessary care you get in an inpatient rehabilitation facility or a unit, sometimes called an inpatient rehab facility, IRF. I don't know what that means, acute care rehabilitation center, or a rehabilitation hospital. Your doctor or other healthcare I'm trying not to throw those extra words in there because it's so simple just to say your doctor. Your doctor must certify that you have a medical condition requiring intensive rehabilitation, continued medical supervision, and coordinated care from your doctors. Part B of Medicare covers doctors' services that you get while you're in an inpatient rehab facility. What are the costs? Well, here's what you'll pay. Days 1 to 60, you're going to pay $1,676. That's the 2025 amount. And that's just the same deductible as inpatient hospitalization would entail. And from days 61 to 90, you've got a copay of $419 each day. Days 91 and beyond, $838 each day. But you don't have to pay any of that because you're going to have a Medicare supplement from Douglas B. Jones, your Medicare expert. So you would eventually, if you are in that rehabilitation hospital, I think two things are very apparent. One is that they're not doing a very good job rehabilitating you. And secondly, you could possibly use up all of your lifetime reserve days, after which your Medicare supplement is going to provide another 365 days of coverage, just like inpatient hospitalization. And then they have a note here. You don't have to pay a deductible for inpatient rehabilitation care if Medicare already charged you a deductible for the care you got in a prior hospitalization within the same benefit period. This is because your benefit period starts on day 1 of your prior hospital stay, and that stay counts towards your deductible. For example, you won't have to pay a deductible for inpatient rehabilitation care if you're transferred to an inpatient rehabilitation facility directly from a hospital, or you're admitted to an inpatient rehabilitation facility within 60 days of being discharged from a hospital. Things to know. Inpatient rehabilitation can help if you're recovering from a serious surgery, illness, or injury, and if you need an intensive rehabilitation therapy program. Physician supervision and coordinated care from your doctors or other health providers and therapists. Medicare covered inpatient rehabilitation care includes these items: rehab services like physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech language pathology, a semi-private room, meals, oh boy, nursing services, and prescription drugs and other hospital services and supplies. It does not cover, however, private duty nursing, a phone or television in your room. That's if there's a separate charge for those items. Personal care items like toothpaste, razors, or slipper socks, and a private room unless medically necessary. So for more information about inpatient rehabilitation care, you're going to go to medicare.gov/inpatient-rehabilitation-care. And next time, this is pretty exciting. I always love knowing what we're going to do on our next episode. We're going to discuss insulin because we're in the eyes, and insulin is certainly something that there are a lot of people who use insulin and who are concerned about the possibility of having diabetes get worse. So that's you can look forward to that next time. And now, where are we going to go? We have an item. Oh, yes, this is what I like to do periodically. This is something that is the content curator's favorite content, but she doesn't get to curate any of it because I'm the only one that does. She likes to hear the correspondence, the exchange of ideas and thoughts between me and potential clients or people who are clients who happen to have questions. And so I like to accommodate her by saving some of that content. And I do a lot of correspondence with my clients, because once you're my client forever. You're not going to get rid of me very easily. That means if you, a couple of years down the road, have a question about insurance or something like that, I am honor bound to answer it for you because I am still your agent. I am going to make sure that you are a happy camper to the extent that I can for the rest of your life, as long as you're my client. So here is a little exchange I had with a recently covered client. This is a person who just got their Medicare supplement plan, which is what I encourage all of my clients to get, Medicare supplement. Thanks once again, Doug, for all of your help in making the transition to Medicare a smooth one. Now, this guy is a pretty successful guy. Both your book and your personal services have been outstanding. And of course, at this point, I want to say, all right, well, go leave a short customer review on Amazon so that other people understand that the experience with me is going to be very good. But I didn't do that. It's like arm twisting. So I just, demurely accepted the praise. He said that my book and my personal services have been outstanding. I will pass your name and contact information on to any of my acquaintances that might be approaching Medicare age. And then a new paragraph here. I thought you might be interested to hear that I filed a successful appeal regarding IRMA using the form that you gave me. Now, for anybody that doesn't know, IRMA is the success penalty. It is the extra charge that the U.S. government will apply to your cost of Medicare if you have earned more than a certain amount, and as reported on your income tax return from 2 years ago. And so he asked me at one point, this gentleman, Michael, asked me, I've been more successful than average. What am I looking at? And I said, well, the government's going to try to slap you with an extra charge for your Part B of Medicare and for your Part D drug plan. And the only way you can get out of it is by throwing yourself on their mercy by filling out Form SSA-44. And that reports a life-changing event, like if you've retired, You have other things that may have changed your financial picture. Fill out that SSA-44 and send it into the government and hope that they see fit to reduce or eliminate your IRMA penalty. And that is an important thing because if you're paying an extra premium for all the coverages you get under Medicare, that adds up pretty quickly. So he said, I thought you might be interested to hear that I successfully appealed regarding IRMA using the SSA 44 form. My initial IRMA was $295.90 per month. Since our income is greatly reduced from 2 years ago because of my retirement and the loss of my wife's job, our IRMA is now, catch this, zero. Cheers, he said, and he signed it Mike. And I said to Mike, congratulations on your victory over IRMA. I have never been more proud, although the credit is all yours. But I wanted to let him know that I applaud anybody who can beat that nasty, nasty penalty called IRMA. It's just one of these things that a success penalty is counterproductive to the success of people in America. Now, here's a somewhat longer exchange from a brand new person who is not yet a client, but I believe she will be by the end of the summer. She wrote in with me and said, I'm retiring in August of 2025. I enrolled in Medicare Part A when I turned 65. I have health insurance through my employer, which will stop at the end of August. I can afford Medicare supplement and prescription drug plans. I also would like to learn about dental and vision plans. And so she goes on to say, I am afraid of making errors when I sign up. What plan is best for me? Does Delta Dental exist in my state? My husband had Medicare supplement through State Farm. He had Plan F, but he passed away in 2020. Well, I don't think the plan that he had killed him, but in any event, so I wrote her back and I sent her quotes for Medicare supplement plans in her area. Now, she's not going to need coverage until September 1st. So it's remotely possible that one of these companies could have a rate increase before then. But I explained all the ins and outs, the details, and then I invited her to contact me further for additional questions that she might have. And of course, what happened? She has additional questions, which I am very happy to field. And she said, thank you for the reply. Good morning, Mr. Jones. She calls me Mr. Jones. I should tell her to talk to my wife. My wife could treat me with a little more respect than that. So she said, thank you for the reply and for all the attached information. I have a couple of questions. Number one, if necessary, can I switch to Plan G after a couple of years with high deductible Plan G? And number two, how does inpatient care figure into all of this? And then she thought of a third question. She said, one more question. Could you please let me know what your fee is for the services you provide? Many thanks. And so I said, hi, Mary. I forgot to tell you this was her name. I said, in answer to your questions, number one, yes, if you can show evidence by answering a health questionnaire in such a way that the company believes you have good health. But this right is not guaranteed in Delaware. My experience and professional opinion are that any desire you might have to move from high deductible Plan G to regular Plan G will diminish over time. Every time there's a rate increase on Plan G that you might have purchased, your monthly savings increase and your risk decreases. Right now, the worst possible scenario has you spending no more than $1,300 extra in a given year if you have horrible claims, a lot of medical bills. And that number will be shrinking. Number two, your second question about how does inpatient care figure into all this? Inpatient care is covered by, boy, I made a typo here. I said Part B of Medicare. I should have said Part A of Medicare. And there's a deductible of $1,676 on the first day of a hospitalization with a balance of 60 days paid in full. I said 69 days. I've got to do some more proofreading. My typing is getting worse. So I made two mistakes in the first sentence in my response. I've got to correct that. Any Part A cost sharing, like that deductible, is treated the same way It all gets reduced to no more than a $1,300 annual cost sharing risk once your premium savings are subtracted from the cost paid. I recommend that people consider their premium savings, yours are over $1,200 per year, like a pile of cash that you stash away. After you get a bill for, say, $20 for a hospital appointment, go into that pile of cash and pull out the amount you had to write the check for and put the rest of the cash back in case you need it later. And then question number 3, I charge no fee for any service that I provide. If I'm lucky enough to have you as one of my, if I am lucky enough to have you purchase one of my products, 3 typos in 2 paragraphs. If I'm lucky enough to have you purchase one of my products, the insurance company will send me a commission. And so I could have done better in my response. So then she said, would it be okay to check State Farm insurance for a comparison for Medicare supplement plan? My husband had State Farm, and again, she tells me that he died in 2020. It was called Plan F back then. We also have both home and car insurance through the State Farm. So she made 2 typos in that paragraph. I don't feel so bad now. So I answered that question. Of the 2 plans I recommend, State Farm only has one. It has Plan G, and it's priced at $187 per month, making it among the most expensive. Plan F would be even more expensive, but you are too youthful to be eligible for that plan. Medicare supplements are not better if they come from one company rather than another company. All the plans with the same letter name have identical benefits. None of them have independent authority to approve or deny a claim. When Medicare approves a claim, the Medicare supplement must pay its share no matter what. All doctors that accept Medicare for payment happily accept any Medicare supplement the patient has without exception. I hope that helps. And then she writes, I have heard that State Farm is expensive. So she's giving up on the State Farm. She says, what I currently have is Aetna at work. Maybe that will work. The high deductible sounds okay to me. So my explanation about how high deductible Plan G works, but she doesn't like any of the companies on my list. I think maybe except I had Aetna on the list, but it wasn't one of the best ones. And so my answer to this latest is I am happy to sell you the high deductible Plan G from Aetna as long as you don't mind spending the extra $12 or so per month. I have attached a list of products and premiums again. None of them will stay where they are forever. They are likely to, they tend to leapfrog each other as the years go by. But the thing to remember is that the name of the company will make no difference in whether a doctor's office is happy to accept it. They do not care what company's ID card you're carrying. I always recommend the lowest price, which is Mutual of Omaha right now. However, if you want Aetna, you shall have it. I can start your application as soon as June arrives. In order to do that, I will need to have the information requested on the attached 2-page questionnaire, plus a copy of the front of your current insurance ID card, plus confirmation of your Medicare Part A and Part B coverage. You can apply for Part B online, but they are likely to need 2 additional documents that you can download and fill out. One is Form CMS-40B, which is an application for Part B of Medicare, and the other is CMS-L564, the form that attests to your participation in your group insurance plan. A human resources person at your company can probably give you that form whenever you ask for it. How does this sound so far? Well, I hope it sounds good to her. I have not heard back from Mary, but I'm assuming that we're on track. The only thing I'm sorry about is those 2 typos that I made in the response to one of her questions, and I'll take that to my grave. Do I open that can of worms again, or do I just let it slide and hope that she's forgotten about it by now? What do you say, Randy?
I would be willing to bet that that is water under the bridge.
Well, I hope you're right.
And you have timed it perfectly, sir. We are
Ah,
out of time. The last quarter just fell through the slot, so we need to go ahead and close up shop.
well, if we must, then we must.
But there's one thing that Doug has always told me as part of my responsibility, and that's to come up with new, memorable, snappy terms. And today's snappy term is A Medicare Advantage plan is like taking a knife to a gunfight.
Wow. I like that. I like that.
So, having said we need to close up shop, let me get that job done here. There's two or three things I always want to do, and this is the first one I do. DBJ at mlmmailbag.com. That is an email address that will get right to Doug that he monitors 24/7. He very seldom ever sleeps. I'm telling you, the guy is amazing. And the next on the list is he is licensed in every state of the union to help you with your Medicare supplement planning. We have a website called MedicareForTheLazyMan.com that will answer a lot of questions. You can fill out some stuff to get things started with Doug, and there's a lot of other things that I think are pretty cool on there. Number three, in your wanderings through the internet, please leave some reviews. We're still trying to keep ahead, at least head and shoulders ahead, of the travelogue people, and the numbers mean everything. Last but certainly not least, thank you for joining us today. You could have been anywhere else doing anything else, but you chose to spend some time with us, and we appreciate it. And here's how much time you just spent if you didn't track it. You just spent 32 and a half minutes with Doug Jones, the insurance guy, originally from Oklahoma. No more. He's up staying in the high ground behind Cave Creek, Arizona, in his fortress of solitude. And I usually measure the height, and I checked it out before we got on to record today. But I don't have to put him in the nosebleed. You know, oxygen is not going to be necessary today. I'm putting him in at 8,500 feet.
What a breath of fresh air. Well, thank you very much, Randy. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us today. I'll be looking forward to seeing you again during our next episode. Bye-bye.